Welcome to the Life Engineering Podcast. My name is Gabriela, former chemical engineer, relationship coach, and author. In each episode, we'll uncover the wisdom, strategies, and tools to help you build thriving relationships and purpose-driven careers. My wish is that something shared in this space touches your heart, brings clarity, or gently guides you toward what you need most in your life right now. Thank you for being here. Let's begin now. Welcome back to the Life Engineering Podcast. I'm your host, Gabriela, and today I'm coming to you with a promise. This is going to be a different kind of conversation. Not so much an interview, more of a reflection or a heart-opening, soul-stretching dialogue. My guest today is Kenny Lange. Kenny, after selling his first company and helping his acquiring agency nearly double revenue in 2 years, Kenny now coaches nonprofits and purpose-driven businesses to scale sustainably. Through custom coaching, the Integrated Growth Network community, and leadership circle cohorts, he helps leaders focus their organization, build high-performance teams, and develop leaders worth following. Wow, I was reading that and I absolutely love that line. Kenny also hosts the globally top 10% ranked podcast, How Leaders Think with Kenny Lange, recognized as a must listen in 2025 by MSN. Now listen to this. He and his wife, Rebecca, have fostered 18 children and adopted 2, with a mission to impact 10,000 kids by 2033. Wow. So today, I want to slow down. I want to sit in that space between the questions we usually ask and the ones that actually shape us. Kenny, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Gabriela. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. Truly are, and I want to start with a very original question. What's on your mind today?
Very well done. All right. Man,
Running for the best.
there's always a lot on my mind. One of the things that I've been working on lately has been, what is my unique approach to serving and helping people? So as you said in the bio, I'm a coach, some say consultant, advisor, whatever term you really like. And I've had all these different tools I've pulled throughout my career, and I like to bring them and my experiences into conversations with clients and with prospects. And while I'm a huge fan of frameworks and tools, I always feel like I'm not just selling a tool, right? Like if I was a construction contractor, I'm not selling you the cordless power drill I'm building the deck with. I'm selling you the deck. But I've really struggled to name what that is, and due to building a couple of custom AI GPTs for myself, and one I'm working on to share with clients and maybe eventually the world. I feel like I'm very close to understanding that, and which is hard whenever you're a solopreneur, or just an entrepreneur with the company of one. So getting closer and closer to that and getting more clarity is what's been on my mind about how each of us, really, I'm not alone here, really brings this collection of things together in order to serve the people we believe we're called to serve.
Well, as I'm listening to you and connecting what I saw in the signature of your email, the wisdom, the discernment, you're the visionary.
Yeah. My working genius and my Enneagram skills are in there. Yeah.
So isn't that part of the deal, that we actually kind of never stop as entrepreneurs to figure out what is that how are we best designed to serve? What is that we're bringing out there? And always question ourselves, what's the next level of our impact, of our genius zone? It's a never end.
It is never ending, which is part of the fun. I mean, it's a huge reason behind like Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game. Like the purpose of entrepreneurship is to perpetuate entrepreneurship. There is no finish line, which could either drive you insane or just make you really really happy, and sometimes both. But my working, if anybody's familiar with Patrick Lencioni's 6 types of working genius, that's what Gabriela is referring to, and my 2 geniuses are wonder and discernment.
Wonder, yes.
And then I'm an Enneagram 8, which means I run hot. I have a lot of intensity, and I may singe a few eyebrows here and there. But at least on the wonder side, I'm always like looking at the world around me and asking like, okay, what makes sense here? What are the connecting points? Am I even working on the right things? But ultimately, the thing I get focused on, and this goes back to my background in being in marketing and agency life and helping other people understand who's your target persona and what's your unique selling proposition and how do you progress people from first conversation to closed one and all those things. I think we are always wondering about ourselves, but I really try to push myself and encourage other entrepreneurs around me in the different communities I'm in. It's it's a little less about like, well, what do I want to offer and what are all these things like. You got to focus on the person you're serving. Like, what do they need? Because what you think is important is almost irrelevant if it's not important to your client.
So how do you choose the person you're serving then?
So that is part of like in using my GPT. Like I've combined a lot of my own ideas on the front end. I'm very fortunate to have my own coach and a more seasoned coach who's act as a mentor. And then I have a couple of communities where I can throw some ideas in and get some feedback, at least for myself, because they know me fairly well because they interact with me often. But I've also taken all these things and thrown them into ChatGPT and tried to get some clarity about like I'm attracted to these types of tools. What's the through line? What's the common denominator? What are all these things getting at? How might they be structured together? Gives me sort of like a loose idea of where I'm coming from. And then what I've done is I've collected, I use a tool called Fathom, which is an AI recorder for video calls. And there's a million of them, Fireflies. I mean, now even Google Meet and Zoom, they all have their own inside ones. So whatever it is, but it produces a transcript every time. And so I'll collect all those transcripts from my clients and sometimes ideal clients or a certain type of call. Like if I'm doing a quarterly planning session that's different than executive coaching that I offer to CEOs and executive directors, I'll collect all of those and put them in a Google Doc, export it, and then I upload it to my GPT and I say, what is this person getting from me? What am I doing well? Actually, I recently just collected like 20 hours worth of calls and had my GPT, who understands my business and what I'm after. And I said, I need you to sort of like ruthlessly evaluate me. Like, what am I doing well? What am I not doing well? What should I start? What should I stop? What should I continue? And one of my favorite questions that I like to teach leaders is, what do you know about me that I don't, but I should? And just an attempt for me to improve as a coach, but also to understand what am I missing as I'm coaching these people that they're getting value or they're giving me signals that I'm not picking up on. And so being able to have that sort of analysis in this day and age for $20 a month, no less. I can really start to understand what are people latching onto that I'm saying naturally. And then that way I can take it and I can be way more intentional about it, which if you boil it all down is exactly what I'm helping these other leaders do, is I'm helping them capture their best intentions in their organization. Because I work with a lot of nonprofits, but I also have a lot of for-profits that are wired a little like me. Like they want to make some sort of like impact on positive impact on the world beyond just their goods and services. Is now we can really harness what's working well for us, because anybody, when you start, you have no idea what's working well for you. You just know that you're putting out a lot of energy, and you're hoping that someone will give you the chance to say yes. Is how can we take the things that are working for us that get us into a yes conversation and do a lot more of it, grow with it, and then if we really feel like we want to, put rocket fuel in it, how can we scale it? And so I feel like I'm trying to walk myself through my own processes that I might be helping clients with, because it's so hard to read the label from inside the jar, as they say.
Okay, I'm going to do my best to share what I took from this answer.
Speak in shorter sentences,
It
so
has
I'll
no,
shorten it.
no, 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 because there's so much. First of all, it feels like a value bomb that you put there, because just that idea of gathering all this data about how you are serving currently, and then asking ChatGPT to analyze it, to show you areas of improvement and what you're doing great, and show you what you're really good at that you might not necessarily see that way. I think that that's really invaluable. And many of our listeners are coaches.
Mm-hmm.
This is just hysterically good. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe that when you come from that place, you're truly coming from a place of service, right? Of okay, it's like almost like on in real time you're measuring what people need, and how can you serve better. That's truly what entrepreneurship is. I interview Dan Bowling, and he said the purpose of business is to serve.
Mm-hmm.
This is why businesses were created. So I love this mindset that you carry. And then you talk about impact a lot. And there are many ways you're impacting this world. I wanted to start with your story, and somehow that's okay. Organically, we're going where it's leading. But I want to know more about you and what brought you to where you are today. And then I want to talk about the children, because that on its own is a whole different topic. So, can you share with us what's your core motivation? I mean, I'm sure it's been there since ever. And yes, it evolves, and sometimes we might actually update it. But tell us about your story.
Just as an entrepreneur.
Well, you work with founders, you work with visionaries, right? And there's always a story that brought you to where you are today.
Um, I mean, I had to cut parts of this out of my bio originally, but I've been selling things since I was in elementary school. I was selling Pokemon cards. I memorized their prices, and I'm out and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make $5 before lunch. And then people liked the way my mom made my sandwiches and my lunch, and so I started having her pack me an extra one, and I would sell it for $1. And then that way, if they had something I really wanted in the cafeteria, I could go and buy it. So that idea of just like, oh well, I have something of value, I can exchange it for something of value that I want, and it works out for everybody. I got a fair price, they got the card they wanted or the sandwich they wanted or whatever. That stuck with me. uh, the genesis of launching my first business, because I started understanding, hey, I can um, sell, which I didn't think honestly, even though I was selling as a kid, I didn't think like, oh, well, that's just like fun, like playing around, stupid kid sales. Like my dad's a salesperson. He's done very, very well. And I always thought, well, that's for him. And I would even say, it's like, I'm too honest, I'm too blunt to be a salesperson. You got to be slimy and, trick people into buying things. And, fortunately I had some people who taught me like, no, like you can be honest and sell, and it helps people. And at one point, I was working at an insurance agency, which was the only job I've ever taken just for the money. And so it's probably one of the only jobs I ever regret taking. Everything else, I feel like I learned a lot. But it was always, I took jobs because I was like, that's interesting. I think it helps people. For the longest time, and now for over 20 years, I've believed that I was going to be in full time ministry in a church. That I would preach, I would teach, I would lead, I would counsel people. And that door just never flung wide open. I've worked part time. I've been a director of operations for my church for the last 5 years. I've done everything except for children's ministry, which is essentially what I do at home with having so many kids. But at one point, I just became obsessed with leadership and leadership development, like to develop myself and how I communicated, because I was a young person in an industry where there were a lot more older people. And I was like, okay, I got to level it up, right? I look like I'm 12. Like, that's why I keep a beard. If I shave, people are going to think I'm skipping school. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to learn all these leadership things because I was driving a lot for the insurance job. And I just started taking notes on my phone. I was like, that's really good. That's a good line. That's a good way to think about it. Because I was hoping it would help me connect with these business owners I needed to sell to. But also, it just fascinated my brain. I love systems and processes. And eventually I started sharing it with people in the office. And I was like, hey, I'm learning this and this and this. And I'd love to share this with you. They're like, that's great. Well, it turned out enough people wanted it. So every Tuesday I had a small email list going internally inside the company called Leadership Tuesday. And I was like, everything else comes out on Mondays. I was like, I'm picking Tuesdays because I like to be a contrarian. I started sending it out. Well, I started telling people back home that what I was doing, just friends in everyday life. And they're like, hey, that's really cool. Like, could you include me on that? And I was like, sure, give me your email address. I'll figure it out. Now, this company I was at, they chose to use Microsoft products. I hate using Microsoft products of any kind. Outlook is a terrible platform in general, but terrible for managing an email list. So I found MailChimp. I was like, okay, cool. MailChimp's nice. Like I can make make it look pretty and all the design stuff. I was like, I'll do that. And I started building a list. And then eventually I had way too much crap. Just, it was a bloated email. There was like so much stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll build a website. So I built a website and I started blogging, and then I would email and doing different things. And eventually it just led to where that took over my brain and my attention, and I ended up needing to part ways with the agency. I worked with the insurance agency. I found a creative agency because I thought, hey, I'm really digging all this marketing stuff, inbound marketing, digital, you're reaching people, you're building a platform. Ended up going to work for a more traditional agency where that wasn't fully embraced. And I needed to part ways. And so in the span of like 4 months, I lost my job twice, when I had gone 10 plus years always having the next one lined up months in advance. It was a big hit to my ego.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Right? Because I'm like, I've been this high performer. Like, I'm a chronic overachiever. Like, I skipped a grade. I had like my freshman year of college done before I graduated high school. I was the first student at my university to get concurrent bachelor's degrees. So I got like 2 degrees in the time it takes to get one. Like, I was just chronic overachiever. And this was the world telling me, you're not as good and as awesome as you think you are. And that hurt. It hurt a lot. And so I didn't have a job. My wife and kids needed to eat because they're selfish like that. And I thought, okay, well,
Plus, you
what's the one?
decided to have many.
What's that?
Plus, you decided to have many.
Yes, at that time we just had our 3 biological kids. We had not started fostering.
Okay.
Um, and and enough time has passed because this summer will be 10 years since I started my first company, since all this happened. So it feels like several lifetimes ago. I said, okay, well, what are my tools that I can use? And I was like, well, I know how to build websites at a basic level, and I sort of understand marketing. Maybe I could help companies that don't have enough money to afford the creative agency I just left, because they were charging like $5,000 for a website, and I thought that was insane. And now I've come to realize, no, that's not insane, and that was just smart business. But I got started because I called somebody who had called that agency like 3 days after I got let go, and I said, hey, I've decided to go out on my own. That's a little lie. I was like, I don't have the same overhead they do, and I can pass those savings on to you and build your website for this price. What do you think? And they became like one of my first clients. and and then my sister and her husband had started a CrossFit gym, and they needed a website built, and so I built that. And then my church needed a website built, and then I just started building from there and became a HubSpot partner and started meeting cool people, figured out I had a talent. I started hiring people, built up to a team of 5, and um, it was great. And then eventually just needed to sell. And so that taught me so much. And I got to use all the leadership stuff I'd been consuming and emailing. And some of it is I was, I'm a, punk upstart who thinks I know everything. And this was a real challenge because it was basically the world saying, like, okay, you think you're so smart, you think you know how to lead all these different things, you're telling other people how they should be leading. Well, let's see how you do when you get to try these things out for yourself. And it was a rude awakening. I'm grateful though that I had read and listened and consumed all this different content, because it ended up really helping me succeed. Because there's a lot about business I didn't know, I didn't understand, I didn't think about going into it. I was just like, I'm just a nerd and I can talk to people and we'll build a thing. So I got to test those things and figure out, oh, these people were right, or they were right, but here's how I can deliver them in a way that's authentic to me, but holds on to their principles. And so I went from having what I felt like was a lot of knowledge to more hard won wisdom. And I saw the difference between those. And it also allowed me to relate to this new group of people, of owners, of founders, of business leaders, and understand the weight that they carry each and every day with the responsibility to deliver to their customers and their clients, who, like you and I were just talking about, there's an obligation and a drive to serve people. But you also, like, you've got a family and you've got this other thing, like, and when you are at the top of the food chain, you eat what you kill, which I do love about entrepreneurship, but it doesn't mean it's easy. It's tough. It mentally takes it out of you. You're almost never off. Like, other people get to clock out and go home. They get to, like, wait on that email. And even if you believe you can or you should, it's hard for that to be a real truth that, like, not just up in your head, but in your heart and in your body. And feeling all of the ups and downs and emotions, feeling like I was alone in doing it, sitting at my desk and just crying because I wasn't sure if I could feed my family, if I could make payroll, if what I was doing was even right, or if I had a brain cell left in my head. Like, maybe I'm just the dumbest person to walk the face of the earth. And feeling like I shouldered everything by myself because I don't want to dump it on my spouse. And I didn't have a whole lot of friends who really understood this. Most of them were employees. And I figured out, oh, this separated us. I can no longer relate to your life because you're griping about having to come in on a Saturday or work an extra hour later when I'm working until like 10 o'clock at night because I promised somebody I'd get something done. And if I don't, then I don't eat.
I so
So
resonate.
I'll pause there, but that's like the long tail of, like, when I started to understand a lot of that, um, just this fire, this care, this concern. I think a lot of the things that drew me to ministry of caring for people, being there for them, realizing how hard some things can be and how lonely it is. Because growing up, I was bullied. I was raised basically as an only child. I felt alone a lot. I felt isolated. I felt beat up on. And entrepreneurship did a little bit of that, even though nobody was really like doing it to me. But it was tough. And so much of like the humor and stuff that I use is because I don't want anybody to feel the way I felt at different points in my life. Is I want them to feel joy. I want them to feel glad. I want them to feel excited. I want them to laugh, and have that presence come back into them, because I know what it's like to feel the total absence of that. And so in the work that I do now, even though, yes, I am purposed to drive a particular level of impact on the world through children, it's sort of the same thing. Is why, like, I'm fostering and adopting is there are people who are going through hard things that feel like they're all alone. that they're by themselves. I mean, I'm sure that I need to look up the stats because I talk about it all the time, but is just the rate of entrepreneur suicide. Like, it's because some people think they're supposed to be entrepreneurs and you're not wired for it. And that's not an indictment on you, but it's a point of like self-awareness and reality that you need to accept. Because otherwise you're a fish trying to climb a tree and you feel like a failure when you're not a failure. You're in the wrong environment. And there's others who are meant to do it, but you're trying to do it by yourself. And that can and oftentimes does destroy people, which to me is tragic because I think entrepreneurs are the way that this world moves forward and becomes a better place in so many arenas. And so part of what I feel like I offer and what my clients give me feedback on is like, I don't feel like I'm doing this alone anymore. I feel like somebody sits in this with me. And sometimes that's all someone needs to move forward and do the amazing work that they were made to do.
I feel like every cell of my body is being validated. I resonated to your story. I see a lot of similarities, except that my family were entrepreneurs, but that didn't end very well, which in Argentina wasn't rare because of the economy, of course. So yes, I understand the geeky mindset. I was studying genetics engineering when I was in high school just for fun. No, I did a summer course and then they elected the top students to continue throughout the year. And of course, I'm not going to say no. And then of course, studying chemical engineering while also working to pay for my school all at the same time, because why not, right? Uh, it's an easy program, so you can do it. 8 courses a semester plus study plus work. But I understand that, I would, in fact, my last job paid for my last 2 years of school. And then I got a better job that was a better pay. I never was jobless. And then when I became an entrepreneur, what a wake up call. And, I always say that's when you open that Pandora box and you understand all the beliefs you have about self-worth and about being paid. And it was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
It was. It was hard to build that coaching practice, which of course with a lot of determination and persistence and bearing myself and working on my mindset and working on my skills. And the reason that eventually I opened the coaching academy and I ran the academy as a community with twice a month community calls with continuous education for free is exactly because I don't want the graduated coaches to feel that they are alone, because it's brutal when you start. Being an entrepreneur and feeling lonely, it's definitely very difficult. So I resonate with every word and every purpose behind each word that you said. I want to go back to, because you mentioned that twice, about how difficult it was to know that you're supposed to provide, you have a family, and you don't know if you're going to have enough to put food on the table. What did it do for your relationship being in that place? How did your wife feel about that? Having written a book about marriage, I have to ask you that question, otherwise I wouldn't be true to myself.
Yeah. So you're about to have fun with this. I don't think I've talked about this on a podcast yet, so you're getting an exclusive.
Yeah.
At the time that I started my first business, my wife and I were separated. We had been going through a really hard time. We were on we had gotten to the verge of divorce a couple times, but it seemed like now it was going to happen. I had moved out a couple months earlier, and I moved back in with my parents, and but still trying to pay for everything, taking care of all the bills, and kids and stuff like that. And so starting the business wasn't really something that she and I talked about, and this is what I'm going to do and I've always wanted to do. Like, we were minimally talking at that time. Basically, if it needed to be about the kids and taking care of them or doing something with them, then we talked. Other than that, we didn't really converse. And And so I was like, I'm out of options. I'm going to start this. I think I can make some money here. We'll do it this way. And truth be told, that was never something that she was really actively involved in. Now, thankfully, probably about a month and a half or two after I started the agency on June 30th of 2015, school was starting back up, and we started to reconcile, and I moved back in, and never left since, and our marriage has only gotten better since then. It really is a God thing, on how we're still together. And as a matter of fact, in 2 days from this recording will be our 16-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I tell people congratulate her. So it is an accomplishment for me, but it's more of a good on her, for putting up with me for this long. But that was really tough, and she never really wanted to be involved in the business because she was like, "You started this. We didn't really talk about it. Like, it's fine if we're paying bills, but I don't feel like it's part mine." Even though I tried to say like, "Oh no, it's our business." She's like, "No, that's your thing," which is very different now with the coaching practice, because we really did talk for several months about like, well, what do we want to do? What do we want to achieve in the world? And what does that mean? And what does that look like? And where am I feeling like I need to go professionally? But what does that mean for our family? And so it really is we've launched out, like, unlike the other one, she's on all the paperwork, 50-50 owner on everything. We talk through, she's not in the day to day, but we talk through some of the major decisions like bigger investments or pivot strategies, or I'm just like, hey, can I throw something at you and you tell me if I'm stupid? Because she's really good at telling me if I'm stupid. Or a bad idea.
We're good at that. What can you say?
Yeah, yeah. That's why I fully believe, like, in the Bible it says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing," and that's definitely been true for me. So that's what it's done in our relationship, and I think early on it was, I don't know if it helped a ton just because of the distance, and there wasn't a lot of unity around the business and entrepreneurship. She understood it, and we're both like wildly independent people. So much so that I tell folks that if you see us out in public, you may question whether or not we're even a couple. Just because we're so independent, we're not like holding hands and skipping down the road and stuff like that. And it's not that we don't love each other, we do deeply, but um, we're just very, very independent people. Uh, and so working through a lot of that has it's been difficult, but it's been good for us to like there's been a lot of hurt, and so a lot of healing needed to take place. A lot of understanding and a lot of discovery. Like different times have gone to counseling. The last time really got spurred on by the fostering work that we were doing, because every time a kid left, it really like hurt me, and I just didn't have the tools to grieve the loss of a kid leaving our house. Um, but it also allowed me to work on things as an entrepreneur and as a husband, and process through some things that just gave me more skills that I could bring back into the relationship. And as a result, our relationship has gotten a lot better over the last several years, especially I would say over the last 5, has really taken off.
And that's beautiful. You have a sense of humor, does she? As well, has a sense.
She does. She doesn't show it all that often, but she does. So I'm more outward in expressing the humor. She's a lot more quiet with her humor. She says some of the funniest things I've ever heard, but she will never say them out loud in front of people. And it's really absurd senses of humor. So that's yeah, we crack each other up, but she also will like roll her eyes at me, and so sometimes I have fun just like making her roll her eyes.
Yeah, I heard somebody say, does he make you laugh? I always tell that to my husband. My husband has a great sense of humor. I'll tell you a quick anecdote. We were in a tech conference 2 weeks ago because I was speaking there about how to have beautiful relationship alongside a beautiful career. How to have both. So we were at night, and yes, we were having a few drinks. The entire conference is there, and somebody asked him, not somebody, the organizer asked him, so how does it feel to live with a wife who wrote a book about marriage? So, uh-oh. I know him. I know he has that sense of humor. He's gonna be so. He says, "Well, we are a power couple. She has the power. She has all the power, and I just follow." And yeah, and we laugh. But yeah, it was funny. But it was something else. I shouldn't have made that joke because I forgot what I wanted to ask you. But what do you think? Here's my next question. What do you think leaders are craving right now, but don't always know how to ask for?
That's a good question. Part of it feels like they want validation that they're not crazy. And I know that word can come with some baggage, however someone wants to take it, but hopefully they take it the way I'm meaning it. But just that I'm not an idiot. I'm not misinterpreting this whole thing. I haven't totally misjudged myself in the world. And maybe I wasn't dumb for taking this risk, right? Because like assuming risk is built into the very definition of entrepreneur. Is, did I make a mistake in assuming this risk, in trying to do something that nobody mapped out for me? It feels a lot like they just need to be told, hey, you're on the right track. There's probably some things you need to know that you don't know. There's some things you're learning that you need to get better at. And there's some things you're doing that you need to double down on. You just won't see the results right away. I was coaching a client yesterday, and she's the COO of my client's organization, and she doesn't yet have kids, but I was trying to relate this of like parenting, because of I have 40,000 children, but I said so much of what my wife and I do right now with our kids, I won't know if it pays off for probably like another 10 years. That's really hard when you don't have a very fast feedback loop. And so can you keep going when you won't get the feedback you're craving for another 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years? Can you still believe in the thing you're doing in the absence of physical, tangible proof? The other part that I and it's related, is, have you clearly defined what success is for you? Is it that you can be at all of your kids' events and drop them off at school and pick them up at 3 o'clock and do all that? Like, is that successful for you? And if it is, then great. And if it's not, then great. Is it that you work 100 hours a week? I might say that there are some medical professionals who would argue with that. But if you just really love working, and you get energy from that, then do that and engineer your life that way, right? And so the two things are like not letting blogs and podcasts, even though you and I both have podcasts that speak to leaders. There's a bunch out there that would say, and I told you this when we were talking about scheduling your time to come on my show, which we'll trade links and all that stuff. So check it out, part 2, and I get to ask her all the questions. But is everybody who says if you want to be successful, you got to wake up at 4 a.m. and walk backwards for 3 miles, listening to a book at 4x speed while you write in your gratitude journal. Like, that's like, stop it. Just stop it. Okay.
I would say, just stop it.
just stop it. But there's so many people saying some version of that we take that on as like, oh, well, they are really successful. and I guess if I want to be successful, then I need you to do that. Like maybe my dreams were too small. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. But even if you need to dream bigger, because I think we've all been around those people who cause you to dream bigger and see more of yourself. If they really are causing you to dream bigger, then it should be something bigger than like the bigger version of your own dream, not check out my super awesome gigantic dream and you
Oh,
should do
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I say, shut your face. Because you do you, I'll do me, but we can cheer each other on. And if you can't do that, then I'm gonna go somewhere else. And so that's where I think they need to clearly define their success, because I think a lot of people are trying to tell them how to, and then they need to be validated that the path that they're taking wasn't the wrong one. It doesn't mean that they're doing everything perfectly. They still need, coaches like you and me and others in the profession and other people listening like you. Like the world desperately needs you. So don't misunderstand me. But they need to do the best version of themselves and the best version of their goals and the best version. Like they have untapped capacity, which is what I believe about people, is there's more here. We just have to surface it. And more I'm learning we can't do that apart from interacting with each other. Even though, as I say that, it makes my skin sizzle, because as an Enneagram 8 and an entrepreneur, I want to believe that I am self-sufficient and I can make everything happen in and of myself. And I'm learning that there's only so far I've been able to get until I really needed to lean into some other people to draw it out of me, which annoys me because it means I need other people. And I know how that comes across as a coach and everything, but that's part of my work I've had to do. And I'm a firm believer that if you are a coach, if you are a consultant, if you are a leader, you cannot take people further than you've been willing to go.
Wow. That was such a profound answer. So much wisdom there. Thank you for that. And I can see how grateful probably the leaders you work with, the founders, the entrepreneurs are. I know that for myself, it's has been not just about I need other people. I'm also very much work better on my own.
Mm-hmm.
It has been I need God.
Yeah.
And I realized that the bigger my desire, the bigger the dreams,
Mm-hmm.
right? The more I will need God, because I was never meant to do this alone. And sometimes the difficult part is learning to ask. So because I'm working on myself with that, I was able to tell a client this week who came to the session, and he says, there's in the last week, so many things are piling up and there's so much going on and things are not going well. Because of course, we coach ourselves so we can coach also other people. I said to him, well, maybe problems come to us not for us to find the solution. And there's, everything comes at the same time, not for you to find the solution, but for you to ask God for the solution. And then you act on it, obviously. Because when it's one problem, you think you can figure it out. Two, you think, okay, I can. But He's preparing you. He's teaching you to use the muscle of asking so you can accomplish more, because He knows you have bigger dreams, bigger desires. But your intellect, your skills will take you only up to here. If you want to get to the next level, you're going to have to, not have to, but you work with Him. Otherwise, you're limited on how much you can accomplish. And of course, I felt like I was telling him and telling myself.
I love that. I'm like, shit,
Yeah, this is for me.
this
Thank you, client,
is for me.
for paying me to coach myself.
That's all I needed. I'm gonna watch this video back, and I'm gonna cover your face, and I'll just coach myself. Yeah. What's funny, so I 100% agree. And truth be told, a lot of the clients that I end up with, both nonprofit and for-profit, end up being more faith-forward individuals. And I don't advertise myself that way, although some of that is probably changing. And I think people like that just seek me out. I think because of 20 years of ministry, it seeps out of me whether I want it to or not. But there's another coach in the System and Soul community, which is a framework that I use, who is similar, has a shared faith, and he was talking on a recent call about one of his clients is more faith forward, faith centered. And so he was running their quarterly planning session, and they're going through just the normal like coaching, leadership, strategy stuff. Like, okay, what went well last quarter? What do we need to do this next quarter? And what plans do we need to make? And just standard stuff you would ask an executive or a senior leadership team. They're all writing it down. Blah 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 blah. And he goes, "All right, now ask God that question and see what His answer is." And I was like, "Oh man, that's so good!" Like, I have a quarterly coming up. I have a couple of them coming up next month, and I was like, "Okay, I'm stealing that. I'm using that." But it was just to illustrate your point of like, yeah, God gave us a brain, and we should, by all means, we should use it. I implore you, if you're a person of faith, use your brain and your faith. It's a both and. Don't be as one of my pastors used to say, he said, "Don't be so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good." Um,
Oh, I
but
saw.
but but like ask that question, like, okay, cool, like you can have whatever dreams and desires, just like you would with a kid. Kids have their own dreams and desires, and you want to celebrate those. But when we're parents, like, we can also see a bigger world, a bigger picture, more capacity. We see more in them than they see in themselves, and say like, that's great. Can I offer a little perspective to you? And I think that if we can do that same thing. It honestly, what you're describing is how I've started to let go of. I still have a high drive to work. And I'll be the first person to admit I love working. I love the work that I do. I'm fascinated by it. It makes my brain light up. I was even I love soccer. I've played since I was little. I coached club soccer. I played indoor soccer. Both of my boys play club soccer, and we've been at tournaments the last 3 weekends. So I've just been in my happy place. Even then, I'm walking to and from the field talking to my chat GPT about ideas that I'm having for the business, just because I love this content and these concepts. But even in that, it's been the last, I would say, 6 to 9 months, letting the Lord show me, like, do you trust me, or do you trust in your own abilities more to provide for your family? I was like, well, I'm pretty darn good, God. I don't know. I mean, you made me, but I don't know if you know this, but I'm sort of awesome. And because of some things that we experienced last year with my father-in-law passing away from cancer, the day after Christmas, just a few months ago, my wife had brain surgery. Then 5 months post-op, her incision site popped open, and she had to have a second brain surgery. So we spent 2 weeks in the hospital. I took from middle of December until the end of February off. I spent 2.5 months not really working at all, which is terrifying for an entrepreneur.
Of course.
As soon as I came back, within 2 weeks, because I was worried, I was like, okay. And I had one client engagement end during that time. I wrapped it up, and they said, hey, we need to pause for a little bit. We got we're hiring people, cash flow issues, whatever. I was like, okay, cool. Like, come back to me when you're ready. And I was like, okay, so our income went down just a little bit. In 2 weeks, I signed 2 new clients and extended an engagement with one and increased revenue by 50%.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've not been prospecting. I've not been like working obsessive hours. I've just been spending time with my family, taking care of my wife. I've been driving because she couldn't drive the entire time that this has been happening. So I was chief Uber driver. And I was just like, okay, I got nothing, man. I'm worn out, and I've not let any of the children die, so that's good. I was like, but I also have this business thing, and I sort of need to get back at it. And then instantly that happened. I was like, oh, okay, so I don't have to like stress myself out and get an ulcer and have panic attacks and things like that. So to illustrate that, yeah, it's a both and I'll be the first one to admit that I struggle with it, but I'm starting to lean into it, and I've just been enjoying my days a lot more and enjoying my family, and I'm like doing things I enjoy outside of work, like playing Halo. So I love video games. And and having fun and laughing and just finding time to like eat a lunch with my wife instead of like scarfing something down so I can get back to the next call. It's been really good.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that because it makes everybody feel validated that it's not always, oh, it's so easy for them, right? It's a work. It's a workout. It's faith and trust, especially the trust, not just the faith, the trust. It is a constant workout. Kenny, this has been a delightful conversation, at least for me.
Me too.
I'm happy to hear because I'm coming to your show soon. So, before we wrap, tell us please where people can connect with you and what you are excited about right now. Is there anything you want to share?
Yeah. So you can visit my website, kennylange.com. It's KENNYLANGE. That E will sneak up on you. And you can go there, and I've got blog, and you'll also find a link for my podcast, How Leaders Think. So you can go and check out all those episodes. Make sure to go and check out Gabriela's episode once we launch that here soon. But those would be the main places, that and LinkedIn. And so if you just type in Kenny Lange or you do the / Kenny Lange, I'm there commenting. Please don't friend me and pitch slap me because I don't like that. And I have been known to answer sarcastically to those people. Look, I'm not dead. God's not done. So those would be the main places to come and find me. And what I'm really excited about right now is and maybe I'll debut it here first, is this approach that I'm working on to really combine all the tools but into a cohesive way to help people. I'm calling it Lead to Scale. And so it really is about whole leader, whole organization transformation for purpose-driven organizations. So I'm really working on having more of a predictable method to transform organizations from the inside out, but it starts with the individual leader, works into high performance teams, and then we decide, do we just want to grow or do we want to scale the organization? In whichever direction you want to go, I've got some phenomenal tools that I'm just seeing are helping and really blessing people.
Wow, that sounds incredible. Thank you so much, value. I'm sure it's going to be there. I just realized this has been probably the longest podcast I ever recorded.
Yay!
Yes, you did that.
Gold star for me.
I do 30, 40 minutes. All right. Thanks again, everyone. Our dear listeners, for tuning in. Remember, our leadership begins with our own alignment. So go slow enough you can hear your own wisdom and his wisdom. Until next time, keep engineering a life of impact and a life of no regrets. Bye-bye for now.